and welcome to Indian Masterminds. My name is Muskan Khandilwal, and today we have with us a very special guest, and she is IPS Officer Isha Singh, a 2021 batch officer and a former lawyer as well. And today we are going to discuss about her UPSC successful journey and her career in law. So welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Muskan, for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
You cracked UPSC CSC 2021 with AIR 191. So how you went on with your preparation strategies, if you could please share for our audience who are preparing for the CSC.
I was practicing on the side, but I was really lucky that the pandemic happened because I graduated in 2018. And after that, the first time I went to the interview, but I had a very shaky strategy because what I had done was I switched to sociology optional at the last moment. And I prepared from Bombay, so I didn't have any guidance as such. So just the magnanimity of the exam was something that I was actually a little taken aback because I didn't expect it's basically an information overload many a times. So the second time around I was more organized. I think that's what was different. I kept my sources to a minimum, but like in sociology I had blindly followed a topper strategy that didn't work for me because that topper was on their fourth or fifth attempt and I was writing my first attempt. So the way they approach that subject is very different from the way I would approach it. So what I learned from that entire first unsuccessful attempt was that you have to get out of the herd mentality. So many people are writing UPSC and so many people are just writing UPSC because other people are writing UPSC, right? There's no, that they don't have that internal motivation. That's not what their calling is, but they're still doing it. That's one thing. The other thing is there's a market of UPSC. People are literally earning hundreds and hundreds of crores through aspirants. So there's always what you say afwa, right? Ye padho, is baar ye aayega, ye nahi aaya, predictions, yahan pad lo, iske notes utha lo, these are incredible. And you start like losing your mind. So this time I kept it really simple. I said, I'm not listening to anybody, first of all. I'm going to do what I think is correct. And I stick to the basics. That's it. Like I thought Vision IAS current affairs always worked for me. So I just did that. I used to read the Hindu. Sociology I read extra. Like instead someone had said just refer to Nitin Sangwan. Nitin Sangwan is great for writing answers, but if you want conceptual clarity you will have to read more. So I did that. I cleared my concepts for my optional. I think that was really important. First time round what happened with sociology was that I just got swayed by a topper's interview and their strategy and I followed it to the T. What I didn't realize is that was that topper's fourth or fifth attempt and it was my first. So anyway, I had picked up the optional at very last moment. I only started it after prelims and I just read that one book that he recommended, but I had zero conceptual clarity and that I think cost me heavily in the exam. So the next time round, what I did is that I read all the fundamental books as well. Once I got that conceptual clarity, it became a lot easier to retain information. Revision is really important. I would suggest along with every week revision and every day revision, you should keep the last 20-30 days before mains just for revision. It should just be mugging up because there's a lot of mugging up you have to do. And the reason for that is that if you're going to you have to substantiate your arguments with facts. There's no way around it. So I think essay was fine for me. So there were things that came easily, things that I thought I struggled with, like ethics, some of the GS, I worked harder. But what works, like every topper says, that what works for UPSC most of the time is keeping your sources limited because there's so much in the market. If you read so much, you will be neither idhar ka nor udhar ka. So that's it. And obviously practicing all your test papers, but more importantly, all the past year questions, because UPSC has a tendency to repeat past year questions, be it an optional, be it in GS, even essay. If you practice, let's say, last 5 years essays, you will 100% have at least one or even both the essays you can write from the content that you come up with in these last few years essays. So it's just about writing the exam with a cool mind, being distraction free, and I think ultimately it's about self-confidence. Have that self-confidence and it's a breeze.
Right. So how was your interview round? How prepared yourself for the interview?
So I gave 2 interviews, and the first time what happened was I went to Delhi and I was like, now I'm going to go to Delhi, do all these mocks. And in these mocks, they started asking me really random questions that weren't related to my DAF or my interview. It was more regarding my parents, what they do. And, there was this thing that, oh my God, but your father quit. Why do you want to come back to the service? And all these questions in the mocks that honestly got me a little, I was shaken by them. I was like, oh my God, maybe UPSC doesn't want candidates like me. Except when I walked into my actual interview, no such question was asked, right? But because of that mindset where I thought the mock interview is what the actual interview would be like, I don't think I did so well. And I got only a 170 or 171, something like that. And so the next year around, I was a lot more chill. I was practicing as a lawyer. I didn't have that much time for UPSC. So I only took 10 days off before the interview. I caught up on all the news that I may have missed. I did one online mock, and I just walked in being myself. I said, if they want to take me, they can take me. If they don't want to take me, that's fine. I'm doing great as a lawyer. And I think ultimately you have to live your life's passion and your purpose wherever you are. So with that confidence, I walked in. And I had done all, there's that Telegram group where everybody keeps posting all the questions they asked. And I'd gone through that. And not a single question was asked from there. Like, my interview was probably my most challenging part of the exam. I didn't expect it at all, because I sat down and somebody was like, so Isha, you're from NLS. And then he's like, so tell me, what are the problems in endless administration? Now that just throws you off, right? Because they're asking you to criticize the institution that you've come from, and how do you do that in a balanced way? And then he was like, what do you think about your vice chancellor? Was he good? And I was like, I said, so we got a vice chancellor right now, who's made a lot of changes to the curriculum. So I was like, yes sir, in fact I think the latest vice chancellor has been doing a wonderful job, and in terms of the professors he's bringing in. And he's like, I'm not talking about this vice chancellor, I'm talking about the last one. And I was like, okay. And he's like, and what about your issues with your administration? I've heard there's a lot of problem with the student body and the administration. And those very controversial questions that nobody will ever dream that you will be asked in your interview. It's more like the chai pe charcha type of topics that you talk about. So I think, but I will have to say, like, I pat myself on the back for this, because I was really balanced in my answer. And that is what ultimately the interview is all about. It means that as long as you can logically justify what you are saying, and you're saying out of reason and not passion, I think that's really emotion. I wouldn't say passion, reason and not emotion. I think that's what they're looking for. So of course I gave him answers in terms of, that obviously there are issues with the exam department. It's bound to happen, because that's the nature of administration, right? It is adversarial. But at the same time, NLS does a lot for its students. Like, it pays for its people's moot court fairs, debates, and the kind of opportunities that are available. You can't say that the administration doesn't care about the student. There is a divide that needs to be bridged. And he was satisfied with that answer, except his next question was, so do you know about the RBI? And I was like, I'm from law background and I know like I don't know that much about the RBI, right? So I said maybe a little, sir. And then he was like, can you explain to me the organizational structure of the RBI? And I was like, I don't even know where he's going with this question, right? And I was like, it will obviously I said, whatever the chairperson and this and that. And he was like, so where do you think the legal counsel comes? And so it was actually a question about law that he was coming to. And um, I said the governor, deputy governor. Then I was like, below that, if there's something, I said on the fourth place or something. I didn't know. And I said also that I'm not sure, but this is what I think it is. And you're not actually expected to know these things. What you're supposed to be is cool while you're answering, even if you don't know. So it's a conversation. And then he's like, what are the problems with RBI? Why do you think their circulars keep getting quashed, and the Supreme Court and all of that? So these were very out of the box questions that I couldn't have necessarily prepared for, because maybe he had a law background or an interest in that area, but I was able to answer. Now it's been a few years. I mean, it's been a couple of years, so I don't remember so clearly, but he seemed very happy with the answer. Except then another person on the board was just like, so Isha, in case you have to set up a think tank, in the US. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, so who all would you suggest for that think tank? What kind of professions would you come up with? So it was very on the spot thinking questions like, do you want academics, you want diplomats, you want retired, let's say, army generals? And even my board chairperson was just like, she was like, so with the criminal law amendments, the committee that's set up, what's the issue with women's representation? So that it went a lot about representation. Do you think women should be represented? Do you think vulnerable sections should be on that committee? Would you accept the decision of this committee? So like, they were very pointed questions where you have to say yes or no. You can't say maybe. So but I was clear. That's why, I was clear in my head. It's important to have opinions. It's important to be able to back those opinions up. And if you have these opinions in your normal life, no matter what the interview throws at you, you will be able to answer it. So I got a 193 this time, which I think was really instrumental in my rank as well. So I think it was ultimately that confidence and self-assurance, no matter what question comes your way. That's really important in the interview.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So when we say IPS training, it is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy. So what is the training like? Is it too tough or easy? Please share.
So I feel that not enough people really talk about the IPS training, but it's blown my mind. I mean, it's a different world. Every day I wake up and it's hard. I'm like, I wouldn't lie and tell you, oh, it's easy, it's doable. There are days which are awful, right? Like, you're questioning yourself, your decisions and your abilities and the system, because it's challenging. It's such a challenging training. Our day starts at 4:30, and from 4:30, we have outdoors. 5 a.m. onwards, we'll have outdoors PT. We'll do battle obstacles. We have unarmed combat, swimming, riding, a lot of different things till 7:30. And then 7:30 to 8:30, you have to get ready. You need to eat your breakfast, speak to your family, and then by leave for class, because 8:50 you have to start class. 8:50 to 1:40 is your indoor sessions, where you're exposed to so many incredible skills, be it forensic sciences. Now I'm completely humanities. I did science like a hot potato in 10th grade. I was like, I don't want to do this. But just coming back to science, be it toxicology and all the different departments of forensics, you learn how to lift fingerprints, understand investigation, the laws. I think that's very interesting, the investigation aspect, because as a lawyer, we've always critique the police, but to be on the other side, it's very, very challenging, I would say, because now I'm starting to see how hard it is to be a police officer. Like, we don't talk about it that much, but a police officer is expected to maintain order in the district. They have to ensure that there is rowdy people are kept in check. If protests are happening, to have it in a constitutional fashion. So there's the order part of it, but we also have to ensure investigation, conviction. So we might be specialized in terms of we're dealing with crime, but at the same time the functions are so vast that you have to be able to multitask really well and do well in everything you do, be it your weapons training, riot control, or your investigation. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, everything that we do, it does come down to justice. It's that person who came in aggrieved in the police station with a hope that my problem will be solved here. That's such a big burden if you think about it. And it's really important that we discharge that well, because that's what builds faith between the people and the government, right? That's when the people believe that we are working for them and that we will take care of them no matter what. So for that, I think NPA does a fantastic job of training you. Like, something as simple as being on time, that's something that so many of us take for granted. But in the police, they always say that you can be 3 minutes early, but you can never be 1 minute late. It's non-negotiable. So I think these small things really build up your personality, and I feel really very, very lucky to experience this training. They really put their heart and soul into it.
After the training, what changes you have found in yourself?
One thing that I found is I'm a lot more organized and disciplined. So now I feel, because I want to do so many things, and let's say out of 16 hours, 13 to 14 hours of my day are given to NPA, more than that, sometimes even 15. So then to do the other things, I need to slot my time in. So I find myself spending more time with my Google Calendar, looking at my watch, being really mindful of balancing many things. And that's very interesting, because NPA is making you do so many things that you start to realize, as human beings, we have so much potential that we just fritter away. We don't even realize the amount we can do in a day. So that's what I think is, I find myself asking myself, how much more can I do? Can I really get better? And I have fears, I have blocks in terms of, physical things, physical activities, how fast you can go, how deep you can dive, riding on a horse, the obstacles to clear, weapons training, right? I'm very human rights. Like, for me, I've been very human rights lawyer, activist. I would be more like, guns should be banned, there should only be peace. But then you come to the other side and you realize, no, you need these things to keep order. There is a different side to this story. So I think that is also really mentally challenging, and I find myself becoming a more wholesome person. Like, I'm becoming more open to experiences. My narrow conceptions of what is right, what is wrong is starting to change. And I find myself, like, today was a Sunday, but I find myself pushing myself, like doing that extra bit on my own, be it going for swimming, strength training, or studying for just the law, reading up on all the criminal issues. I think it brings out initiative, which is the most powerful thing in a human being.
So as an IPS officer, what will be your priorities now?
That's a really tough one, I think, because like I just told you, an IPS officer has to do so much. But what I think about policing, I've been a police kid since I was a child. Like, since I was born, I'm born into a police family. And but I spent a lot of time outside of the system, because my father quit, my mother left the government, and then we've all been in the private sector. So we saw another side of the state, the kind of state that is really harsh, ruthless, often forgets that people are the priority, not the people in power. So I think as a police officer, I will just do one thing, and it's something former super cop Julio Ribeiro sir told me. I met him and he said, Isha, and I was like, sir, tell me, give me advice. He's like, I can't give you any advice. It'll come to you naturally. And I thought that was such a great thing to say. That's probably why he is what he is. But he said, always give justice. Like, people will come to you with hope in their eyes, and if you can give justice, they will say nyay detat. The word will spread, nyay detat, which means this officer gives justice. And then people will really start to come to you, and they will have that faith in you. And that's what my priority is. Ultimately, every person that walks into a police station, whether you are a minority, whether you are um, a Dalit, whether you are a woman, whether you are disabled, whatever, if you feel, you need to feel safe, you need to feel taken care of. So I think bridging that trust deficit that exists between the people and the government, that is my number one priority. And the second thing that I think is, often it's the other way around as well, right? I feel police personnel do so much for the people of this country, but how rarely do we recognize it? Like, take a simple example. What did you do on New Year's? Tell me.
Nothing. I was at my home.
Okay. So that's, I would say, a rare occurrence, because here in Hyderabad, like, people were out partying. Most people, will like make these New Year's Eve plans. They'll go to these events and all of that, and everyone's with their family, their friends, having a good time, except for one class of people. Who are these people? They are the police constables, right? They're standing on the road for hours, they're checking for drunk driving, they're doing bandobast, they're ensuring that they're inspecting that the event protocols are followed, it's safe. And police people rarely spend time with their family, their work. The Indian Police Act says that a police personnel is supposed to be on duty 24/7. So I feel it needs to go both ways. Like, the police need to care about the people, but even the people should really value the kind of contribution the police makes to society. So I think that's another priority, where we need to have these conversations. We need to recognize the incredible work that so many police officers do every single minute, which is the reason why this country functions the way it does. So those are the two priorities that I keep in mind.
Coming to the end of this segment, any message or a piece of advice that you would like to give to the aspirants preparing for CSC?
The advice that I want to give is that, first of all, be really clear what is it that you want to do. Come into the service with a sense of purpose and a sense of mission. Have a mission, have a vision, have that drive that you are here to give to the service, not what you can take from the service. Because I think that's it. That's what the service is all about. Some people will take. They want the privilege, they want the power, they want the recognition, the respect. And then there are those who we remember forever, the ones that really give. You might not even know their names. Like, there are so many people, anonymity, right, that they really value in the bureaucracy. Now I'm starting to see there are incredible people you will never read about, you will never hear about, but the impact that they've made is stupendous. So it's all about how much can you give. And if you feel like you can give, I feel nothing in the world can stop you from clearing this exam, because the universe also listens to people with that passion, that drive, that love, that heart. I think everything will conspire to make you clear this exam. So just have conviction and be very clear as to why you want to join the service.
Okay, so with this, I would like to say thank you so much, ma'am. It was a very insightful discussion with you on various topics. We hope that this interview will help the aspirants preparing for the service. And thank you so much for giving your time.
Thank you so much, Muskan. It was lovely speaking to you.